Hi there, this is Eliot Kennedy. I'm speaking to you from my hotel room in New York City, where I'm over writing for a movie at the moment and also making changes to my Broadway musical, Finding Neverland. Um, it's an honour to be a part of this and to help my friend Mark, of course. Let me just go to the first question. So, your success has taken many forms from award winner, songwriter, producer, and being involved in artist development, writing for film, and now Broadway. Let's start with your film work. How did you make the transition, and what does the job look like? It's interesting. It varies from film to film. Sometimes in film work, it's like an end credit song, and you're given the job of sort of wrapping up the movie in 3 minutes, and sort of coming to terms with what the message of the song needs to be to emotionally wrap up the sort of meaning of the song. The director is going to have an idea on tempo and structure and all that kind of stuff. Quite often they temp a song in. By that means temporarily put a song in place, and they want you to write something like that. I've always found that it helps to use elements of the theme from the film in an end credit song, because there's a familiarity there already. You're not aware of it, but you've been sort of breathing in this theme all the way through watching the movie, and then when you hear the song at the end, there's a sort of familiarity that always helps. And also it's good to keep the entire music creative staff involved. So that's been a good thing from my point of view. And as an exercise, I would recommend songwriters to choose a film that they really like the theme of, and write a song using that theme like it's an end credit song. I do this with my writers all the time in my academies. It's a really good exercise in terms of having to take yourself away from what you do normally as a songwriter, and put yourself in a situation where you're having to write specifically for a brief. So that's something maybe to worry about. In terms of what the job looks like, I mean, for instance, right now I'm working on a movie as the music director and producer. It's a new role for me, so it's a little bit more challenging. But I'm charged with sort of putting the music together for the whole film, but also writing and producing the original songs. So it's a fantastic job, and I'm really enjoying it. It's much more detailed. Usually there are two kinds of songs for films, either the end credit song or a song in the body of the film, in which case it might be a montage scene, or it might be behind something that's going on dramatically, where the song needs to be a part of that mood or drama. It really is horses for courses, but I find it really inspiring watching, reading a script or watching rushes from a film, and picking out lines in the script that mean something to you, and using that as an inspirational sort of springboard. I find that as the best thing about writing for film. And this one in particular is really good fun. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Okay, question 2. Can you talk about your work in artist development? How do you spot talented writer or artist? How do I start this one? Artist development really has been the thing I've done more than anything in my career. And I got into it accidentally, really, with the Spice Girls, because they sort of lived at my house, and we sort of worked out together why that relationship worked so well and transferred to coming out of the speakers so well, because we were friends and we broke down barriers that normally exist between artist and producer and writer. We didn't have any of those because we were all living in the same house, sharing a bathroom, sharing a kitchen. So I worked out when I built my studio that I wanted the kitchen to feel like a real central part of that process. Because when you're in a kitchen, your defenses are down, you feel like you're at home, you're not in a studio full of gear or whatever. So I made sure my studio felt like a home first, because people relax when they're in a home. And I found that always works better when you're trying to get people to emote, to be honest. Because it's tough, especially with young artists that are inexperienced. You may as well ask them to strip down naked in front of you, because it's that sort of personal to them. So I found that making people feel as comfortable as possible in an environment that's usually very uncomfortable or unusual is of paramount importance. And then you get to see who artists really are, and then you get to see whether they're talented or not, because there's no bravado, there's no ego required in a situation like that. So you get honesty, And that's when I think you start to see a real artist, because I always say to people when I'm working with them that they think the job of an artist, or as a developing artist, is to stand on stage and sing, or sing in a studio. It isn't. That's a given. That you've got to be able to do that if you want to do this for a living. The job is transferring emotion, and people don't work that out until often it's too late. Because the reality is, when you went to the first gig that you can remember, and you came out buzzing, and you wondered what it is, and it's not a song, it's not a melody or a note that they sing, it's the way you feel. You come out feeling differently to how you went in. So that person did the job. They transferred emotion. They made you believe what they were singing about, that it got to you, it somehow connected with you. It's almost like it's in your DNA, that it's an honesty thing that it's hard to sort of describe. But it only happens when you break down all the barriers and you are honest. And I've found, as a producer, developing artists and recognizing that in artists, that you have to first create an environment where everyone feels really comfortable. And that's your first job as a producer, is to make people feel comfortable and capture the best performances. And that's kind of how I work. That's kind of how I recognize talent. If people aren't honest or aren't prepared to emote and really be honest about that, then it's not going to succeed, and I don't really want to work with them. So it's all about honesty. It's all about breaking down those barriers. Okay, so question 3. On Broadway with Finding Neverland, can you discuss how this came about and how it differs from writing songs? Well, this is a big question, a big project. It started out with me and my co-writer Gary Barlow doing what we always do, just writing a couple of pop songs. We were asked by Harvey Weinstein, who was the producer of the show, to submit some songs, because he'd already staged the show. It was already produced and with actors and everything on stage. It just didn't have any hits. So we wrote a couple of songs, which one of them is now the main theme tune, Neverland, and then a duet between the two main characters. And we did those our first day. We were inspired by watching the movie Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp and Kate Winslet. And we submitted them, and Harvey called us about 20 minutes later and said, yeah, we're going to need more of these. So we ended up writing the whole show again. He fired everyone and rehired a new director who got excited about us doing it, because she considered we were doing sort of Beatles, Brit pop. And it was just, from then onwards, we just did what we did. And we were honest with everyone and said, look, we're not Broadway writers, we're pop songwriters. If that's what you like, then this is going to work. And thankfully it has. Everyone's embraced that about that show. It's very contemporary, very pop, memorable, lots of sing-along tunes. And we made an album with guest artists like Christina Aguilera and John Legend, and incredible artists came to sing songs from the show. And it works as a pop album. That's when you realise it's in its heart and soul, it's a pop record. The show itself is beautiful. It's a beautiful story about the life of J.M. Barrie, who wrote Peter Pan, and why he wrote it, what inspired him to write it. It's funny, it's quite tragic, there's a lot of sadness, but there's also a lot of hope. And that's what we worked on. That's the essence and the music is about hope, and that out of nothing you can create something that changes the world, which Peter Pan did, which again is a weird thing. Peter Pan is like in our DNA, it seems. It seems like we're born knowing that story. And I think it's because it's such a classically human story. It's not contrived, it's pure honesty. It was all about magical discovery and honesty about oneself that brought that about. And I'm of the opinion that anything really great is usually born out of an element of pain. It's an unfortunate thing about being a human that our most amazing work usually comes from one of our most painful processes. And this was one of those things, and there's a lot of heartache and a lot of pain in this story. And I related to it, even when writing songs about Captain Hook, which we thought was kind of fun, but I realised, after trying to write that song 3 times, you had to sort of work out what Captain Hook represented and it represents the dark side of ourselves that we try to hide away and not acknowledge. But at some point you realize, I've got to face this and use it as a strength, and then it becomes an ally. It becomes your impenetrable shield then. So there was a lot of that working out for us to do as well as songwriters, that for it to work, for it to transfer emotion, I had to dig deep into my soul and into my pain and write from that place like J.M. Barrie did. So it was a real exercise, nothing like I've ever done. I mean, real scrutiny of lyrics and rhyming patterns and stuff like that. I mean, Broadway are vicious when it comes to stuff like that. So as songwriter, you try to be cooler and not rhyme as much, and this is the opposite. You had to rhyme perfectly, otherwise you got scolded. So it was a real schooling, and I loved it, every minute of it. And we're still tweaking it. It's on Broadway. It's had a great run. It's about to go on tour around America and then come to the UK. So it's ever developing, and I love it for that. It's an ongoing brilliant challenge. Okay, question 4, maybe the biggest question. How would you advise an aspiring songwriter artist to follow your road? What tools do they need? And how can they find them? How do I say this? Do you know one of the things I'm amazed by, more than anything else in this industry, is how little people are prepared to do to really, really follow your dream. Because I'll tell you something, it's hard. And you've got to go further than anyone else is prepared to do. You've got to work longer. You've got to do stuff for nothing, much longer than you think is humanly acceptable. You have your ass kicked. You've got to be, prepared to be ripped off to learn. You've got to be giving of yourself and warm, even when people are cynical. Even when people are not very nice to you. You've got to sort of see beyond that and realize that's just their stuff, not yours. It's not an excuse or a pass to be rude or be an arsehole. It isn't. You have to be the best of yourself you possibly be at all times. Never be lazy. Never let it slip and just so, screw this, I don't want to do it anymore. You have to pay attention to detail beyond the finest of details that you think you could ever do. And you've constantly got to question yourself and police yourself. Is this right? Is this the best it can be? And if it isn't, and there's that nagging doubt, start it again. Turn it off, start it again. Number of times I've started a whole track and I've just deleted it all because that inner police of myself says, I can do better. Don't settle for anything that you don't think is the best. Don't bother playing it to someone unless you're going to sit there all the way through it and go, yeah, I'm happy with this. That's what you got to do. I know it sounds hard, and it's meant to be, because anything like a dream, like your real dream, is meant to be extremely hard to attain, because only then do you recognize it as a dream. Only then will you know how lucky you are to be doing this in music. We're lucky to have music in our lives that we can just do it for nothing, as far as I'm concerned. That's a real privilege, that you can be a musician, you can play an instrument or sing along with something in tune. I mean, what a gift that is. But then to be able to earn money from it and a life and share that talent with people and have them come back to you and tell them how amazing that your songs are, or the moments you've given them. And some of the stories I hear about songs I've written, they just reduce you to tears. It's such a humbling experience to be involved in this industry. And here I am 25 years in, still able to come to work, and people want to know what I'm doing and listen to me, and want to know what I'm going to write next or whatever. I'm constantly challenging myself, but none of it's changed since I was 15 years old in a studio for the first time. I was enamored with it. The dark side took over, and it still got a hold of me. God bless it. I wouldn't change a single thing. I have no regrets at all. Anything that was painful was meant to be painful, because that's how you learn. And that's the reality. Unfortunately, it's very human, and there's no tricks. So I'm sorry if you're looking for a fast track, because there isn't one. There's not meant to be one. If you want this to be your dream, work hard and don't ever stop, regardless of what people say. So keep doing it. And more importantly than anything, enjoy yourself in every single thing you're doing. Because if music isn't about joy, I don't know what it's about. Thank you.